Imagine waking up one day and trying to open your favorite website does not load. You try another one, still nothing. You check social media, offline. Try to shop, dead. You refresh again and again, but large parts of the internet feel broken. This has already happened. And in some cases, the reason was not a hacker, it was not a war, it was not a natural disaster. It was one company. That company is called Cloudflare. Cloudflare was founded in 2009. On the surface, it does something simple. It helps websites stay online. It protects them from attacks. It makes them load faster. That sounds helpful, and it is. But here's the part most people do not know. Cloudflare sits between you and the website you are trying to visit. When you type a website address into your browser, your request often goes to Cloudflare first. Cloudflare checks the request, filters out harmful traffic, and then sends it to the website server. When the website responds, Cloudflare sends that response back to you. It acts like a security guard and traffic controller at the same time. Today, Cloudflare handles traffic for roughly 20% of all websites on the internet. That means about 1 out of every 5 websites relies on Cloudflare in some way. This includes platforms like Discord, Shopify, Patreon, and many major blogs, news sites, and online services. That number alone should make you pause. Because if one company helps power 1/5 of the internet, what happens when that company fails? We do not have to imagine. We have proof. On July 17th, 2020, Cloudflare experienced a major outage. It's not caused by hackers. It's not caused by a cyber attack. It was caused by a configuration mistake inside Cloudflare's own system. As a result, major services went offline. Shopify stores could not process orders. Patreon had issues. Online games and other platforms struggled or went dark. Millions of people were affected within minutes. Then it happened again. On June 21st, 2020, Cloudflare had a knowledge outage inside its network. Large parts of Europe and the United States could not access dozens of major websites. Companies that depended on Cloudflare suddenly became unreachable. Again, this was not a global cyber war. It was not some dramatic movie scenario. It was a technical error inside one company. And because so many websites relied on Cloudflare, the effects spread across the globe almost instantly. To understand why this is serious, you need to understand how the internet used to work. In the early days of the internet, websites were more independent. A company would host its own servers or use a small hosting provider. If one server failed, maybe one site would go down. The damage was limited. But over time, the internet became centralized. Large infrastructure companies started offering security, speed optimization, and protection from attacks. It made sense for businesses. Instead of building complex systems themselves, they could rely on experts. Cloudflare became one of the biggest of these infrastructure companies. It offers protection against something called a DDoS attack. That stands for distributed denial of service. In simple terms, a DDoS attack floods a website with fake traffic until it crashes. Cloudflare blocks these attacks by filtering traffic before it reaches the website. It also offers a content delivery network, often called a CDN. This means Cloudflare stores copies of website content in many data centers around the world. So when you visit a site, it connects to a nearby server instead of one far away. That makes pages load faster. 2 powerful incentives. So businesses moved in large numbers. Small blogs, e-commerce stores, game platform, media companies, even some government services. And slowly, Cloudflare became a central highway of internet traffic. The problem with central highways is simple. If a small street is blocked, only a few cars are affected. If a major highway is blocked, traffic across an entire city collapses. Cloudflare is not just a small street. It is one of the main highways of the modern internet. There is another layer to this story. Cloudflare also provides DNS services. DNS stands for Domain Name System. It is often described as the phone book of the internet. When you type a website name like teyefunstories.com, DNS translates that name into an IP address, which computers use to locate servers. Cloudflare runs one of the most widely used DNS services in the world. In 2018, it launched a public DNS service called 1.1.reconnect1.focus. So now, Cloudflare is not only protecting and accelerating websites, it is also helping direct users to those websites in the first place. That increases its influence even more. Some experts have raised concerns about this level of concentration. Not because Cloudflare is evil, but because concentration itself creates risk. When too much traffic flows through a single company, that company becomes a choke point. A choke point is a place where control over a narrow path can affect everything behind it. In global trade, canals like the Suez Canal are choke points. When a ship blocked the Suez Canal in 2021, global shipping was disrupted for days. Cloudflare is a digital version of that idea. If its systems fail, large sections of the internet feel the impact at once. This also raises questions about resilience. Resilience means the ability to survive failure. A truly resilient internet would not depend so heavily on a few large providers. But economic reality pushes companies for convenience and cost savings. It is cheaper and easier to rely on a giant infrastructure provider than to build everything yourself. There is also the issue of trust. When you route traffic through Cloudflare, you are trusting it with enormous amounts of data flow. Even though traffic may be encrypted, the company still becomes a central observer of internet activity patterns. Cloudflare has stated publicly that it supports privacy and free expression. It has also taken controversial positions at times, including deciding whether to stop providing service to certain websites involved in harmful activity. That creates another dimension of power. If a company sits between users and websites, and if it decides to stop serving a website, that site can effectively disappear from large parts of the internet. And Cloudflare made public decisions to drop certain extremist websites after violent events. The company stated that these were exceptional cases. Still, it showed something important. Infrastructure companies, once seen as neutral pipes, sometimes make content-packed decisions. This shifts them from pure technology providers into actors with social influence. Now step back and look at the bigger picture. Cloudflare is not alone. Other infrastructure giants like Amazon Web Services, Google Cloud, and Microsoft Azure also power huge portions of the internet. Many websites rely on a combination of these services. The modern internet looks decentralized on the surface, millions of websites, billions of users, but underneath, much of the traffic runs through a surprisingly small number of companies. It is efficient, it is powerful, it is also fragile. When the 2022 Cloudflare outages happened, engineers fixed the problems relatively quickly, but even short outages can cost millions of dollars in lost sales, disrupted services. For online businesses, minutes of downtime can mean massive losses. For communication platforms, even a short outage can cut off communities and emergency coordination. This is the hidden truth of the digital world. We think of the internet as everywhere and nowhere. We imagine it as a cloud floating above us. In reality, it depends on cables under oceans, data centers in specific cities, and companies with headquarters, employees, and software that can fail. Cloudflare is one of those companies. Small compared to governments, smaller than the entire internet, but powerful because of where it sits in the system. It is not about blaming one company. Cloudflare provides real value. It blocks attacks that could destroy small businesses. It improves performance for millions of users. It invests in security research and global infrastructure. The issue is structural. When one company becomes deeply embedded in the digital bloodstream of the world, if Cloudflare has a bad day, a significant part of the internet has a bad day. That is leverage, and leverage in complex systems always carries risk. Internet was once described as a decentralized network built to survive disasters. In some ways, that is still true at the physical level. At the service level, convenience and economics have pulled us towards centralization. Cloudflare is one of the clearest examples of this shift. Next time a major website fails to load, consider the possibility that it is not just that website. It might be a shared layer underneath, a hidden company routing traffic quietly in the background. One company handling around 20% of websites, making decisions in milliseconds. And sometimes when a small mistake slips through, reminding the world how interconnected and fragile digital life really is. The internet feels infinite. Its foundations are fewer, more concentrated, and more human than most people realize. Will I give update on the most important thing on digital life? Subscribe to lock in.